yoga. I hope you all have enjoyed these sessions so far. I would love any feedback. I got a little bit of feedback this week that says people are enjoying it. So thank you for participating, and I hope you're getting something out of it. Today, all you will need is an open space. If you have a mat, that's fantastic. Sometimes a little harder, more solid surface is good. And for today, we will be seated and working into some, well, they're called Marichyasana postures. And we'll work into the first, second, and third one. We won't make it all the way into the third one because they are very difficult. And so we'll just do some modifications for those. And then this is going to be a little bit shorter session today just because I want to give you some options if you only have a short amount of time. These are great leg stretches for you to do. So we're going to get started right away with sun salutations. If you are not sure what that is, I'm going to move quite quickly through this. So maybe you want to pause this and go watch a sun salutation video first. I have some on my personal fitness page, which is Todd and Angie Fitness on YouTube, and you can watch sun salutations there and then come back, or just follow along as quickly as you can. So we're going to start, I'll turn sideways so you can kind of see me from the side, but from the front you'll look like you're standing in mountain pose, which is feet down on the ground, about hip distance apart with knees and toes facing forward, palms also facing forward, and we're just relaxing the shoulders down away from the ears. So as you stand in mountain pose, kind of the purpose of this pose is just to relax a little. Just a slight bend through the knees, definitely noticing any tightness or tension that you feel without even having to move. And so that's one thing, as you stand here and breathe, and I talk you through some of these things, one thing that's fantastic about yoga, and once you start to really learn yourself, is you can just stand here and feel like, oh my goodness, my right shoulder is so tight. You don't even have to move anything to know it. And then once you start to move, you might notice other things, how, wow, when I move that loosens up, or when I move it really is maybe injured. And so those are kind of the practices that we're trying to get into, awareness of how you feel, and then as you go through your practice, awareness of how those things change. So we'll take a big deep breath in together here. Just get as much air as you can into the lungs. Nice, long, slow exhale. Let's do that again. Big deep breath in through the nose and out also through the nose. Noticing any tension, and then if you feel some tension, just try to mentally go into those joints and muscles and relax those areas so we're not hanging on to any of that stress or tension. And then with this next 2 or 3 breaths, I want you to take all of your focus and place it on your body, on your mind, on your joints, muscles, even on your heart pumping, on your breath, any bodily function that you want to think about or consider. Let's do that. And the purpose is to let go of everything outside of your body. So even the space that you're in right now, just letting go, letting things go by without you even noticing. And so why is that important? Well, because there's a lot going on in the world today. And even if we didn't have a pandemic, there's a lot going on in the world today. There's a lot going on in your world today. So I want you to kind of eliminate all of those external things and bring your focus into the internal, because honestly, guys, if we can't heal and fix what's going on in our bodies, we can't help anybody else. So if you're home with children, if you're married, even if you're single and you're working, in any situation where you're having to interact with someone else, you're not going to be as beneficial if you can't take care of yourself first, okay? So there's my soapbox. Let's get moving. We're going to sweep the arms up on your next breath in. So just take a nice long time to inhale. Look up at the thumbs. Exhale through heart center. And by the way, I don't know very much, you guys. I just share what comes into my heart and my mind, and that's it. I can be wrong. I probably am wrong on these things, but I'm just trying to motivate you and build you up and encourage you. So everybody may have a little bit different way of looking at it. That's totally fine. If you jive with me, then fantastic. That's great. Let's take it one more time. Inhale, sweep it up. And through heart center, here we go. Through our sun salutation, we're going to work into the standing portion. We're going to add a little element in today, which you guys are going to be so thankful we did. Let's go up, swan dive, forward fold, bend the knees. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, collapse. Inhale from here, you're gonna keep the seat low, chest stays kind of like on a hinge. You're just gonna bring your chest up, arms right by the ears, chair pose. You're slightly tucking the tailbone, not like in our cat, but just keeping that engaged so that your belly is nice and engaged here. Quick breath in, quick breath out, back to your forward fold. Step back for plank. Once you get to your plank position, we're gonna make sure we have good alignment with the hands right under the shoulders, lowering for chaturanga, up dog. And you know what's next, down dog. You can modify this. I'm gonna show a quick modification. So inhale to plank on your knees. Exhale, lower to the ground. Inhale, baby cobra, lower, child's pose. So that's your modification. From here, we're gonna step forward though. So even if you're in child's pose, you're stepping forward. Lift the hips, bring that foot a little bit closer this time. So if you were hip distance before, we're gonna wiggle it in a little bit narrower. Bend over in your forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, collapse. Lower the seat, chair pose. Now look down, can you see your toes? If you're forward, too far forward or too far back, I want you to get back to where you really can't see those toes very well, but you can wiggle them. Good, back to your forward fold. Step back for plank. Chaturanga. Are we getting warm? I feel it. Exhale to downward dog. Step forward with that other foot. Push off. Toes together this time. Forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, collapse. Keep the seat low. Swing those arms up and over. Chair pose, quick breath in. Back to your forward fold. Step back for plank. Chaturanga. Up dog, baby cobra. Down dog and hold here in downward dog. Get comfortable for a second if you need to bend a knee, and then the other one. Breathe. Trying to get the knees as straight as you can, and also trying to keep the chest sinking in toward the thighs. Excellent. From here, we're walking the feet forward to about the middle of your mat, and then you're just going to crisscross the ankles and sit down. Easy enough, right? So, we're taking the legs straight up in front for staff pose. Staff pose is both feet straight out in front, pulling the toes back toward the heart, and you can take your hands by your sides and just lift your chest nice and tall. So, this may be a lot of a stretch for you. If it is, I would encourage you to find a wall. So let me elaborate. If you're having a hard time here and you're kind of hunched over, if your knees are bent, if you can't really get into that nice tall posture here without really leaning back, what does that mean? You have tight hamstrings, tight low back. It's perfectly normal. I definitely have both of those. So to help yourself sit up a little bit taller without having to use so much muscle and maybe to relax a little more, just scoot yourself up against a wall and sit up as tall as you can here, and still use your hands by your sides just to kind of get your chest to open up. So you want to feel the shoulder blades as well as the tailbone on the wall. If you're not quite there and you're a little further out, that's okay, but your effort is to try to get that tailbone all the way to the wall in our stretches, okay? So we're going to go into a series of Marichyasana stretches, and the first few that we do are modifications. Then we'll get into the actual Marichyasana posture. There are tons of these, and they get more difficult as you go. So that's why we're only doing a few of them. If you would like to look it up, it's spelled funky, but maybe type in a word that sounds like Marichyasana and it will come up for you. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do though, sitting nice and tall, let's just pull one of our legs in so that the bottom of the foot, I'm doing right leg, it might look flip-flop, so it may look like the left leg. So just as I say right leg and it looks off, do the mirror image if you need to. Bottom of the foot on the inner thigh, and the knee is just going out to the side. So I'm just gonna let this knee kind of fall out and open. Now if you find that your flesh kind of snags on each other, just take your hand there and kind of separate that. So where you're taking the calf and rotating out, taking that thigh, inner thigh, rotating out, so that I can get a little more out of that. All right, now if you feel a pull in your knee, I want you to focus on that hip joint. So we're gonna, again, kind of grab that leg, rotate the flesh outward, kind of like a self-massage, and let's just kind of roll that out for a few breaths and make sure you are still breathing. And I want you to be able to feel your sit bone on this side, as well as on the right side. So if you're kind of leaning over to one side, try to get your weight even. Okay, we've talked through a lot of those things. On the next side, we're not gonna spend as much time here, but this is just what you need to know. So we're sitting up as tall as we can. If you're using the wall, fantastic. Let's reach the arms up, and we're gonna just hinge at the waist. So hinge as far forward as you can. Now, if your knee starts to come up, we're gonna try to focus on pressing that down as we lean over. When you get to what you feel like is the furthest point without rounding your spine like this and tucking your chin, we're gonna keep the head up tall, spine out, drop your hands. Wherever your hands fall with arms straight, that's where you're gonna work within. If you can grab onto the foot, we're grabbing kind of like pinchers onto the outside edges of the foot so elbows can go out. If you're up here on the knee, that's fine too. Elbows still go out. So all we're doing is taking a big deep breath in and sticking our tailbone out a little bit more and using our hands to pull us down. So we're not rounding, we're keeping a lot of squeeze through the back. So inhale again, pull yourself down with your hands. Keep that knee down on the right side. Inhale again, if you can walk your hands out a little more, fantastic. Big deep breath in and bow. Now once you've gotten to what you feel like is probably your furthest point, I want you to breathe deep, exhale, and hold there for one more breath. Slowly rolling up. Good job. All right, now we're gonna take that foot and turn towards you so you can see what I'm doing here. I have about a hand's width in between my foot and my thigh. So keep that hand's width and then pull that foot in as close as you can. I'm turning to this side. I need camera angles. So I'm gonna pull that foot in as close as I possibly can and take that heel just right underneath my bone here so that I'm kind of lifting up just a tad on that right side. Okay, and I'm gonna hug this in kind of tight, sit up tall. If you're against the wall, you should already be sitting up kind of tall, but maybe try to scoot your tailbone back just a little bit. And we're just gonna hug this here for a moment and kind of see how it feels, digging all 5 toes into the ground and keeping some integrity through the left foot. So we'll pull those toes back. Now, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. We're working into that Marichyasana posture, the first one. We're gonna let that leg kind of fall out to the side, except all 5 toes stay on the ground. So you're just giving yourself some room, like use your elbow, like get out of the way. And we're gonna reach up nice and tall, big deep breath in, and bow forward just like we did before, just kind of sticking the tailbone out, reaching as far as you can, drop those hands. Now notice, you can't go as far, hopefully, because your leg is kind of in the way there. Well, that's totally fine. We're just gonna stay here, take a big deep breath, try to sink into it a little bit more, let that knee possibly fall out a little bit further. And what we're really trying to do is get this shoulder below the knee. And the reason is, and this is where you can stop here and just stretch if you want. If you want to try to keep going with me, we're going to take this hand and kind of slice it out like you're trying to, I don't know, sling a sword or something. And then once you get to that point, you flip it over. And then it should be able to bend. So you might get here, or you might get here, or you might get here, or you might stay here. You've got a lot of options. So all we're trying to do is lock this. We're going to let go with the left hand if you're here with me, and we're going to try to reach back and grab the fingertips. If you have to spin around to do that, that's fine. But let's get the shoulders back forward and we're leaning into it. This is our Marichyasana 1 or A pose. We'll hold here, we'll breathe. We're trying to keep the chest level with the thigh. Big deep breath in. If you're just holding on here and one hand's around your back, that's okay. And if you're both hands here, that's okay too. And we're going to slowly let go and roll up. Very nice. Let's let that leg out, shake it out a little bit. Good job. If you tried it, thanks for trying. The binding position is a little bit harder. All right, we're going to take that same leg. We're not finished with it yet. We are going to do a little bit different here. We're going to bend it in so that when you bend in, first I want you to bend it in as your knee is up here, so we're protecting the knee joint. Then we're gonna take that foot up into the hip crease, okay? So as close to your hip crease as you can get. And then nice and slowly, we're gonna open up that flesh like we did before. And this time, using your hand on your thigh to rotate it out, we're gonna keep the foot in the hip crease as we point the knee to the ground, okay? So we're working on a Marichyasana 3 posture, or 2 posture, my bad, but we probably won't get all the way to the binding part of it, okay? Which is totally fine. We're not concerned about how far we get into a posture, just that we're learning them, and we can keep practicing. This is great hip opening. If you feel a tweaking in your knee, let's go back to the inner thigh stretch here. But if you want to learn a little bit deeper how to get into a posture, we're up here in the hip crease, okay? So if you're comfortable here, you're all right with this position, we're gonna reach the arms up, flex the toe, and bend forward. So we're keeping that foot here. Hang on to it if you need to, right up in the hip crease. Bending forward, take a big deep breath, bow into it. Excellent, then we'll roll all the way back up and we're gonna shake that leg up. Good job, guys. All right, and if you start to look up these Marichyasana postures, we're not taking this to this level, but if you want to know what it is, for those of you that are interested, the next evolution in this is to bring that knee up and bend it. And so you're kind of in that same posture, but with a bent knee. And then the next one is to lock behind your back. So you can look those up and practice those a little bit, but we're stopping here for today. All right, next, we're just gonna take this foot and cross it over. So we're still with the left leg straight. We're still working on this right leg. And now we're doing a little bit of glute and hip opening here. So it's a little bit different stretch, and you'll feel that if you're tight. So sit up tall. We want this knee to stay kind of right in the middle of the chest as we hug it in close. And then also noticing that my toes are pointed forward. So instead of turning it to the side, I want you to see if you can get the toes to face the end of your leg. So everything's tracking down and forward. And we're just gonna sit nice and tall here. Maybe smile for a second because it's nice to be seated and stretching. And then we're gonna take a big twist. So as I turn back to the side here, you guys stay where you are. If you're against the wall, great, you're just sitting tall and keeping that knee in close. And we're gonna hug the knee in with the opposite arm. So I've got right leg, left arm. I'm gonna take my right hand behind me so that I'm kind of pulling my chest around, and you're trying to get your chest parallel to the wall across from it. Okay, so if you're here, try to get it a little bit further. And you can do that by taking your elbow on the outside of that knee and twisting it even more. If that's too much for you, just hug it. It's totally fine wherever you are there. And then the objective is to keep pushing so that our spine is tall, using the back hand to get as close to your tailbone as possible. So we'll take a big deep breath here. This is another Marichyasana pose that requires a binding. So you would take your arm around the front of your leg, bind behind. Very difficult posture. And then again, we would take a leg in here and start doing some other folding and stuff. So this is why we're stopping here. You guys can kind of see where we're stopping because this is really great twists right here. Awesome. One more big breath. Excellent. Okay. We're going to take that leg out, shake it out just a little bit. Everybody doing good? Just kind of take a little breath and check yourself here. Honestly, my right leg feels a little bit longer than my left and definitely feels a little looser. So let's just take a minute here. If you want to bend both legs, you can. In fact, I would encourage you, if you have tight hips, just to take the bottoms of the feet together and maybe roll around a bit. If you're not into rolling around, just take a breath, relax, kind of see how you feel. Notice if you can feel any lengthening or loosening on one side. If you feel any tightness or felt any tightness, just a little bit of a checklist there of what we just went through together. How are we like in Marichyasana? He was a guru. And if you look that guy up, you'll be like, did he even have joints? I'm not sure. So it's pretty interesting. These are not new, you guys. These postures are way old. They're very ancient. So if you're interested in the study and the research of it, it's a very interesting form of fitness to study. Okay, So let's see if I can remember where we left off or where we need to start on this side. We had the left leg straight, so we're going to switch and do the right leg straight this time. So right leg out straight. We're going to bring that left foot so that it is touching the inner thigh of the right foot. So you look like a figure 4 if I'm facing forward here. And notice I just have this leg straight out for me, not out to the side. I want it right out in front. And I want the foot up on the inner thigh. Okay, remember how we separated the flesh? We kind of gave ourselves a little thigh massage here and rotate, encourage that leg to fall open. Try not to hold it up here and get tight through your hip crease. Let's relax. Use the wall to sit up tall if you need to. And we're going to start with our first stretch by reaching arms up. Hinge at the waist so that your tailbone goes back and your chest goes forward. Wherever your hands fall, that's where you're grabbing gently. And we're pressing that knee to the floor and pulling the chest down. So take a big deep breath in. Pull the chest down, not your forehead. If you're having to look down, change your posture. You may have to back off a little bit, but that's how you're going to truly get the stretch in the hamstring and not in your neck and upper shoulders. We're not trying to stretch that just yet. That's a great thing to stretch. That's just not what we're doing today. All right, big deep breath in. And then rolling it up nice and slow. Very nice. Okay, we're going to take that foot about a hand's width apart or away from your inner thigh and turn back to the side here. And we've got the heel as close, maybe even up under that bone so that you're kind of lifting up. You should feel a little more weight on the right side than on the left, and we're just sitting up tall here. Hands width in between. And then as we prepare to go into this fold, we're letting the knee fall out, but keeping all the toes on the ground, okay? So then we reach up, bow forward, grab onto whatever you can grab onto, wherever that is. Maybe let the knee fall out just a little bit more, but we're trying to get the shoulder below the knee. And eventually we're gonna want that leg to come in a little closer because we're gonna bind right here, right? So we don't want it way out here or we can't get our arm around it. So that's the reason for all toes staying on the ground. So as you bow forward here, for those of you that want to bind, we're shooting that arm out like you're slicing something, then turn it over, and then hinge it back. You can kind of work it, release and see if you can grab or bind, and you're reaching for those fingertips, even if you have to kind of twist it first. Once you get it, we're taking the chest and the shoulders forward again. So as we hold here in our Marichyasana posture, we're breathing. Take a big breath in. And release. Sit up nice and tall. Very good. Let's take that leg and shake it out just a bit. Good job, you guys. All right, now the other one that we did was a little bit deeper into this hip stretch and outward rotation. So we're gonna pick it up and make sure the knee is bent and closed. We wanna close that joint first. Take the heel to your hip crease, and then as you get here, we're separating flesh, we're rotating that hip outward. We're pulling the foot into the hip crease so that you've got it all the way up into the pocket right here. And so if you're here and you feel good and this is not hurting your knee, then you can go into your bowing position. If this is too intense for you, just sit up tall, hold it here, keep that knee joint closed. If it's still too much, then maybe just bring that foot to the inner thigh and work into your bowing position from here, okay? So if you're ready for that more advanced, then let's go for it here as we sit up nice and tall. And we're gonna reach up, take a big breath in, and bow forward. Relaxing as many muscles as you can is the key here. So even just then as I took a breath, my quad relaxed. So sometimes we engage the quad in order to stretch the hamstring, but sometimes it's just better to relax everything so you can get a little bit deeper into it. Know your own body and where you need to be today. We're coming all the way up nice and tall. All right, and then we'll release that leg, shake it out. In our last posture here, we're taking that leg and crossing it over. Remember, toes are pointed down the leg so that they're pointed toward the foot, same thing. We're engaging that right foot, hugging the knee as close as you can and sit up nice and tall. Once you feel pretty good there, I can already feel some tightness on this side. I just tend to be tighter on my left side. I'm going to take it a little easier possibly on this side. We'll see how it feels as I twist. I'm gonna grab the knee and take my hand as close to my body as I can here, as close to my tailbone. Twist around, that actually feels pretty good. I would like to go deeper. You take a breath and decide what's best for you. If it's good for you to take that elbow around on the outside, then we can, but we're not squeezing fingers. If you find tension in your face, relax that. Maybe go back to the posture you were in before. And we're just breathing here. Very nice, you guys. We will unravel. Take bottoms of the feet together if you want. We're going to take some big giant circles. Go in both directions. If you're not willing to do this stretch, maybe you're just letting those legs come out in front and kind of bouncing them around a little bit and give yourself a little break here. Okay. We're going to all try something together before we go into our final relaxation time. This is called lotus pose. It's a lot of times the way that you'll see yoga people meditating, yogis meditating. And I want everybody to try it on both sides. So I'm going to kind of talk you through how it looks. Since we've done all these hip opening stretches, you might surprise yourself and be able to get into this posture. We're going to choose a leg. It doesn't matter which one. One goes out straight, one goes bent. And we're bringing it back up into the hip crease. And the key here is to get it just as far over and up as you can without hurting your knee. So knee joint closed, flush out of the way. Once you get here, we're kind of helping that thigh, helping that hip to open and rotate down. You want to hold that foot in place. Okay, so hold that one there. Keep it, stay. This one, you're going to let it turn out to the side, and then you're going to start to bend it. So I'm going to try to keep my knee as close to the floor as I can as I bend this leg in. And this knee has to stay down too, because what I'm going to eventually do is pick this one up, wiggle, 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 until it's on top of the other one. And this is your lotus posture, okay? Now, my right hip is pretty tight, so that's why my knee is off the ground here. But as I loosen up, you'll see that knee start to float down to the ground and be more level with this one. This is how a lot of people meditate. Okay, if you're still like trying to get that leg up off the ground, you might have to rock back a little bit to get it. That's totally fine. So let's uncross if you're there. Try the other side. If that side was like, no, let's try the other side, okay? So what we're gonna do here is take that other foot, bring it as close as you can. You might surprise yourself, or you might go, okay, that's something I wanna work on. Because my daughter was telling me today, what can I do? I'm so bored quarantine. I was like, try a new skill. And that made me think of you guys, and I thought, well, lotus posture is a great one to try because it's good for your hips. So, keeping that joint closed, we'll turn this leg out, and I'll kind of demonstrate what I meant by when you rock back, you might have to balance a little bit, but sometimes it's easier to get that foot up when you're back like this than when you're down on the ground. Then you can lower both legs to the ground. Okay, so my left hip is much more flexible than my right, and so that's why I'm kind of able to get into this posture. But I'm sitting here in my meditative state, and let's see if you can hold for 5 seconds. What you'll do is just each time you get into it, build up, see if you can sit here a little bit longer until maybe you're sitting here for your entire meditation time or prayer time or whatever you do. Okay? Sweet. Thank you guys for trying that. If you tried, give me a thumbs up or give me a comment or something. I'd love to know. All right. Shake it out. We're coming to a comfortable position where you're lying down. I would encourage you today, since we've done a lot of hip stretching, to try goddess pose for a bit here. So we'll take bottoms of the feet together, let the knees fall out, hands go out to your side, and we're just kind of taking some deep breaths and relaxing. And so since I can't see you guys, I'm not going to stay in the relaxed state because I would like to kind of talk you through just some de-stressing, if that's okay. So find your comfortable position. I want you to hang out there for a breath or two and focus on how you feel now that we're finished with all of that stretching. And we didn't really focus on breathing hardly at all. I mentioned breath a few times. So now is when I really want you to think about getting as much air into the lungs as you possibly can. And then take that exhale to go as long and slow as you can, getting all of the air out. And then let's do that again. Now Friday, I have already decided that we're going to practice some breathing techniques. And Hatha yoga is a style of yoga for breathing. And we're going to talk about a couple of different ways you can breathe that help you de-stress, that actually teach you some important life lessons about trusting yourself, and just about trusting life in general. So these breathing techniques they've saved me a few times from anxiety attacks and hyperventilating. So if you ever have anxiety attacks, this is the session for you. So I am not an expert, but I have drawn from the experts in my life. I'm currently in a class with yogis all over the world, and we've been talking about breathing, and we went through such an amazing exercise Monday night, and I have to share it with you guys. So we will be doing that on Friday. Please come back and join me for that, or watch it later on sometime over the weekend, because it will benefit you greatly. And so as you've laid here, hopefully you've gotten a little bit heavier on your mat, and you feel like you can just sink into the floor and trust the floor. Trust the ground. It's going to hold you up no matter what. It's not going to sink in or fall. Every single muscle in your body can actually relax and release and sink down, just like you're melting into a complete liquid puddle. And maybe whatever your favorite liquid is, I just want you to imagine that, especially if it's warm. Like, I love hot tea, and just imagine myself going into this pool of like dandelion tea. Is one of my favorite things. If you like hot chocolate or coffee, or if it's a cold drink, whatever makes you feel amazing that you can just think about, even in your mind, maybe you can even taste every single flavor. I want you to sense that in your mind. You can taste it almost with your mind. And as you spread out into this puddle, you're just taking up as much space as you can. There's no barrier. You can go wherever you want. Nothing's stopping you. You can spread out as far as you want. Nobody's looking. Nobody is paying attention to you. It's just you. And you just don't have any structure or bones or body or expectations whatsoever. You can just release all of that. Doesn't that feel so good? No one expects anything out of you in this nice, warm state that you're in. So take a breath there and just kind of feel yourself expand even more if you can. Get a little bit heavier. Notice every point of your body that's touching the floor. And then from that point, you're just expanding outward and getting bigger and bigger. Resist the urge to think about anything else going on in the world right now. If your thoughts just tend to wander off away from the body and what you're doing now, just gently kind of like you would a ping pong ball. It doesn't take much effort, just a little nudge back into what you're doing here. A little nudge back into how you feel laying on this floor, fully supported, no muscles. Your jaw is even dropped, the tongue is away from the roof of the mouth. Your eyelids are soft. All of your leg muscles are relaxing, and we didn't work on upper body today, so maybe you really focus on the shoulders down away from your ears. Chest is open. Let's take one more big deep breath here together. Just inhale as much air as you can get. And on this exhale, I want all of those little pieces that sprawled out to kind of come back in nice and slowly so that you feel your form again. Head to toe, all your pieces are back in place. Heart beating, let's just focus on that heartbeat. You might even take a hand and place it on the heart. Maybe take a hand and place it on the belly so you can feel that. Inhale. Exhale, you're alive. You're functioning. You're whole. I want you guys to live a wholehearted life today, which means just find the happiness in the small things. Rid yourself of any stress or anxiety, any need to control. Your heart's beating, your lungs are breathing. Let's be grateful for every little thing in our lives. And then let's start to wiggle the fingers, wiggle the toes. Let's bend and straighten the arms when you're ready. Then we'll bring the knees together, feet flat on the floor, and then just choose a side to roll onto. Hang out in that fetal pose, if you will. Don't let blood flow to return too quickly and make you dizzy. And when you feel ready, if you're asleep, you'll find out later that we're finished. And that's okay. I hope you found that relaxing. If you're awake, go ahead and sit up into your seated posture that's comfortable. We'll take hands out onto the knees, sit nice and tall, and just open the throat, open the chest. Take a big deep breath in and reach up. Exhale through heart center one time. And we'll take that breath in again. Inhale, reach. Thumbs to heart center. Namaste. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful day. See you back on Friday.